Everyone, my name is Chris Madge. I'm also from the University of Queen Mary in the same group as Daruk on the Dali team. And I'm going to be talking about another couple of games we've been working on. The first of which is tile attack and how we teach our players about noun phrases in tile attack. So tile attack, as you saw on the homepage, is a mobile-friendly game. It's web-based, so you can log in tileattack.com. It's a two-player game. And as Daruk was talking earlier about the ESP game and introducing the cold start problem, we actually used the same output agreement mechanic for tile attack as the ESP game. So points are awarded based on agreement. It's a language resourcing game with a purpose, but the teaching players and that pedagogical aspect to it is very important to us in terms of getting the best quality annotations we can from the players. So here's just a quick glimpse of tile attack. When players arrive, they see the home screen. They get a short video that shows them the instructions on how to play and a little bit about the rules. So when we teach players about noun phrases, what we do is we start from entities and work backwards. So those of you with a linguistic background might kind of recognise this task as being similar to co-reference resolution. So we give the players some simple sentences, and we have the illustrations for the real-world entities that occur in those sentences, and we instruct the players how to go and find those and show them the counter. I'll show you how that looks now in the tutorial. So as you can see here, the player is going and finding the wolf, and the counter goes down. Sorry, the deer. Yeah, sorry, the wolf. and then the counter goes down there. Okay, so this tile attack actually is working with noun phrases, as I say, but it's highly adaptable. It can be adapted just about any language task, basically. I mean, sequence labelling, it supports nesting, supports overlapping sequences. So there's a wide variety of different tasks. When players play, as I said earlier, they play against each other, but they can, if another player is not available, for that particular sentence, or a replay of another player isn't available for that particular sentence, they play against a pipeline, and they can also eventually play against an aggregation of players. So we use different aggregation methods, like majority voting or some Bayesian methods as well, to infer a kind of a silver standard which the players can play against, and that's continuously evolving. So we have levels in the game for progression as the player learns to play better and better, and they can get feedback from seeing the other players' moves. So you can see a graph here of an example of a player. As their accuracy improves over time, the lines at the top there are precision, recall, F measure. We can see the red line there indicates the level that the item's at. And so as they're progressing through the gameplay, we're just keeping them in that state of flow and getting the best possible responses we can from them by giving them the adjusted correct items of that level. So tile attack players already do really well. We do crowdsourcing, we put it on indie games portals. Players get 89% on F1 in a recent experiment we did, and the non-experts, as I say, some of whom English will not be their first language, gets 85%. But we're always looking for methods of improving this, and one of those methods we're looking at is using training games. So Word Clicker is another web-based game, single player this time. It's not a multiplayer game, but it's far more easy to play, and it introduces some of the key concepts to understand noun phrases, such as parts of speech. So, for example, where nouns, adjectives, verbs are. So this is Word Clicker here, and Word Clicker has a fully interactive tutorial to guide players through playing. It's got a bakery-like theme. It's much more of a kind of free-to-play looking game, so it gets much better acceptance rates and player acquisition and retention over on the indie games portals than TileTac does. So it's a bit less utilitarian, but far more effective in terms of retention acquisition. I'm just going to skip over that a bit because I appreciate we're running a little bit behind. So, yeah, as I say, we train players on individual tokens there, part of speech tags, but like TileTac, it's highly adaptable. We can put any language in there, and we can put any different word class as long as they're selecting individual tokens. And again, we're doing really well on learning with word clicker. So this is a cumulative moving average. And the blue bars there indicate the number of players that have played the game. So this was, I think we've been up for about a month here on an indie games portal. So these are indie gamers. They're not people that specifically that are interested in a language at all. They're just people interested in playing games. And we've got precision recall and F measure. As you can see, over the first 20 rounds, the player's ability to recognise these word classes really improves quite a bit. And we also do really well on the amount of time people spend. So people are spending 29 minutes on average per session, which is personally not something that I've seen before in any of my other prototypes for games to purpose. That's one of the longest average play times that I've seen of any of the kind of games that I've produced. For on average, they're marking 37 tokens for the lifetime of their play, which I also think is pretty good. So they're not just sitting there, staring at the game or watching the pretty graphics. They really are going in and labelling the tokens. Yes. Any questions?
So, any questions? Yeah, there.
Thanks for the nice presentation. How would that be in the backbone different than, for instance, Duolingo, where you start from, I'm just mentioning Duolingo because I'm learning Hebrew. I just finished my lesson. And what you're doing is that you are asked to identify words given part of speech tags, so you're getting acquainted with that. Then you move on to syntax, coreference included. That's
correct, yes. Yeah.
So that's my question, basically. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a very similar model. So from what I played of Duolingo, they as you say, gradually move people on through different tasks, and we are looking to do a similar thing. In the research group, as my colleague Druk mentioned, we've got a collection of different games, and we do move people between the games. So players will move on from word clicker onto playing TileTac once they've leveled up to a certain amount. So once they've got so far, we progress them on. We unlock TileTac and move them on. And then once they've progressed so far on TileTac, they'll unlock another game with more complex language features.
Thanks very much for those presentations. Very interesting. Could you tell us some more about the players? You're making some claims about the players there.
Okay.
How long they're spending on it, their success rates. Who are they? Yeah. Because you can't make. Sorry.
Okay. So yeah. Sorry, I've skimmed over a bit because we're a little bit behind. But crowdsourcing players. For the crowdsourcing players, I apply no constraints whatsoever. So they are just crowdsourcing players. They come from all over the place. I don't stipulate that they have to be English speaking. For our players, that's quite a broad figure that I've given there, a broad group of people. So some of them are indie gamers. I think that the vast majority of them are indie gamers, but TileTac has been displayed in variety of different places over time. So they're not very granular figures. Granted, there's probably groups we could single out. There will be linguists in there as well. So yeah.
Adding to that answer a bit, what kind of players there are. We are also very much curious about that. And in soon time, I would very much like to conduct quality qualitative research with them, like if possible through Skype. And yeah, if we get any good results, like any correlations, any commonalities between the crowdsourcers, like the people who are willing to do so much work, we would love to share with you. Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have time. Or is it? No, you can. Okay. We don't have time for more questions. And thanks again our two speakers for their very nice presentation.